I don't even know how to start this without sounding like someone who's already lost his mind. Maybe I have. Maybe this is me trying to put everything down before the last of my sanity slips through my fingers. I've never been the kind of person to believe in ghosts, demons, or anything supernatural. If you'd met me 10 years ago, you'd have called me rational, grounded, even a skeptic. I laughed at ghost shows, rolled my eyes at scary stories, and said things like, if I can't see it, it doesn't exist. That was me. That was who I used to be. But that was before the pond. The pond wasn't anything special at first glance. It sat behind my uncle's old farmhouse in upstate New York, tucked between the tree line and a stretch of open field. When I was a kid, I used to visit in the summers. I remember catching frogs by the edge, tossing stones into the water and watching the ripples spread. Nothing sinister, nothing strange. My uncle would warn us not to swim in it, though, said the mud at the bottom could pull you under. We thought it was just another one of those adult scare tactics, like when parents tell you to wait an hour after eating before swimming. But he always had a serious look in his eyes when he said it. Don't go in there, he told me once. Not even if it looks inviting. That pond isn't right. I never questioned it much as a kid, but when I grew older, when my uncle passed and I inherited the property, I started spending more time there. It was peaceful. I'd drive up on weekends just to get away from the city. The farmhouse creaked with age, smelled of dust and wood, but it was familiar. And the pond. The pond became something I started to notice more and more. The first time I felt something was late one evening, just after sunset. The sky had turned deep orange, then purple, and the fireflies were coming out. I stood at the edge of the pond, tossing a stick into the water. The ripples moved outward like always, but then something else moved against the ripples, almost as if something beneath had pushed back. I told myself it was just a fish. I wanted to believe that. But when I leaned closer, I thought I saw something under the surface. Not a fish, not a frog. Something pale, almost human-shaped. I shook it off, told myself I was tired, that the reflection of the fading sky was messing with my eyes. But that night, as I lay in the farmhouse bed, I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing water. At first faint, like distant waves. Then louder, closer, like footsteps sloshing slowly through shallow water. I got up, looked outside, and swore I saw ripples moving across the pond, even though there was no wind. The nights that followed got worse. I'd wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning, the same time every night, and hear knocking sounds. Not on the door, not on the walls. From the pipes, I thought at first, but no, it sounded wet. A hollow, dripping knock, like someone tapping on a waterlogged surface. And each time I'd look out the window and the pond would be rippling again. One evening I decided to walk out there with a flashlight. The air was damp, thick, carrying that earthy smell of wet soil and algae. My boots crunched on the grass until I reached the pond's edge. I shone the flashlight over the water and my stomach dropped. Right there, not 10 feet out, was a face, just beneath the surface, white. Still, eyes wide open, staring up at me. I froze. My body screamed to run, but I couldn't move. The water didn't ripple, didn't move around the face. It was just there, watching. Then, without warning, the face sank down, disappearing into the blackness. My heart hammered so hard I thought it would explode. I backed away, nearly tripping, and ran back to the farmhouse. I told myself I imagined it, that I was tired, that my mind was playing tricks. But deep down I knew better, and that was just the beginning. Over the weeks, things escalated. The farmhouse grew colder, even in the middle of July. Doors would creak open on their own. Sometimes I'd hear splashing outside when there was no wind, no rain, no animals. One night, I found wet footprints on the porch, small, bare, leading from the pond straight up to my door. That was the night I decided to leave. I packed my bags, locked up the farmhouse, and drove back to the city. I thought putting distance between myself and that pond would fix things, but it didn't. The dreams started. Every night I'd see water, dark and endless, with pale hands reaching up from beneath. Sometimes I'd see the face again, staring with wide, lifeless eyes. Sometimes I'd feel something grab my ankle and pull me down. I'd wake up choking, gasping for air, my sheets soaked with sweat. It wasn't just dreams, though. Little by little, the pond followed me. I started noticing puddles in my apartment, though I never spilled anything. The sound of dripping water came from the corners of rooms even when no pipes were there. And worse, sometimes I'd catch a glimpse of something in reflective surfaces. Not always clear. Sometimes in a mirror, sometimes in a window at night. A face. The same pale, wide-eyed face. I tried everything, salt, prayers, therapy, even just trying to ignore it. Nothing worked. The more I ignored it, the worse it got. My friends stopped visiting because they said my place smelled like mildew, like stagnant water. One friend swore she saw a wet footprint on the carpet when she left the bathroom. She never came back. And then came the night that still keeps me awake, even now. I woke up around 3 a.m. to the sound of gurgling, not from the pipes, from right beside my bed. I turned on the lamp and my heart stopped. There was water pooling on the floor, spreading from under the bed, and in the reflection of that water I saw her. Yes, her. It wasn't just a face anymore, it was a full figure. A woman, skin pale and bloated like someone who had been underwater far too long. Her hair floated around her face, dark strands clinging to her cheeks. Her eyes were wide, unblinking, and locked onto mine. She was under the bed. No, under the water that seemed to spread from nowhere, and her hands pressed against the floor, pushing upward as though she was trying to climb out. I screamed and stumbled out of the room, slipping on the wet floor as I ran. When I came back minutes later with a kitchen knife, don't ask me what I thought that would do. The floor was dry. Bone dry. No water, no figure, nothing. I haven't been the same since. I've tried moving. I've tried burning every piece of clothing, furniture, anything that might have carried something from that farmhouse. But it doesn't matter. She finds me. Every night. Sometimes in dreams, sometimes in shadows, sometimes in the reflection of a car window when I'm walking home, always watching, always waiting. I think she drowned there, in that pond. That's what my gut tells me. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe someone held her down. But she never left, and now she won't let me leave either. I don't know how much longer I can live like this. Every time I close my eyes, I feel water rising around me. Every time I shower, I swear I see her face pressed against the curtain. I can't escape her. And I know, one of these nights, I won't wake up gasping. I'll wake up choking. The water will fill my lungs. That pond ruined my life. If you ever find yourself near it, for God's sake, don't look into the water. Don't listen to the ripples. Don't let her see you. Because once she does,